Is Torment, Tides of Numera worth our time? We're about to find out. Welcome, everyone, to episode 210 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a random game on Xbox Game Pass and decide, well, Tom, we're not dealing with sports anymore, but is Torment going to torment us?
I feel tormented already.
Well, all right. That's great. Torment, Tides of Numera, developed by In Exile Entertainment.
A familiar name.
A familiar name, indeed. But this game came out in February of 2017. Multi-platform. Came out on Mac, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and, Tom, Linux.
What?
Yeah. They were considerate enough to get those folks on, I don't know, whatever version of Linux it was. Ubuntu 17, who knows? Something like that, maybe. Red Hat, maybe. But I play this on the PC, 9.67 gigabytes on the PC. Tom, what about you? Lighter
on the Series S, 7.03 gigabytes for us Xbox people.
Wow, okay. Some savings over there. Good job. Good job, In Exile. I mean, they are now an Xbox studio, so maybe they were like trying to be nice.
Optimization.
Yeah. But now, what kind of game is this?
I put very blandly isometric turn-based RPG.
Yeah, I wrote the exact same thing because that's what it is. This is an isometric turn-based RPG. That is where we're at with this game. But now, let's talk about that game loop. What we got?
Yeah, so it was hard to not to be a little condescending here, so I apologize in advance. I wrote, read lots of content to arrive at prompts and make choices, but also explore the environment and complete turn-based encounters.
Okay. I think I kind of said the same thing, but maybe not as condescending. But I put select pieces of dialogue or engage in combat to gain XP for your character and progress the story.
I don't remember gaining XP, but I guess maybe it did happen.
You do, and we'll talk about that in our likes and dislikes here. But let's get to our likes, Tom. What did we like about this game?
I enjoyed how it began as a narrated text-based adventure. So it's just text, there's Foley, you hear sounds, and there is a narrator kind of walking you through this. And it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book, but as if it was an audio book where you then arrive at a prompt and then choose your next thing. And I liked the way that started up.
Yeah. I mean, this game, I'll be honest, gave me a little PTSD because it was like, oh God, is this Citizen Sleeper all over again? And but it kind of did a little turn, like you actually see your character, you actually get to move around your character eventually.
Yes.
And but I gotta say, I agree with you that it does start off as as a text adventure game. But man, the writing in this game was beautiful. There were so many words and stuff like that they use. I was like, that's a great way to do this describing the world. Even that beginning part, right? You don't see anything other than text. And there's some animation of it because the game starts off, you're falling, your character's falling out of something, and they're just describing everything around you, like what's happening. And I guess in a way, it was like a really good dungeon master, just describing the environment, and you can really picture what's going on. And yeah, I was just so blown away of how well written this game was, because you have to read a lot of it, I thought also it was just an interesting way that they did the character creation stuff too, because you kind of, you kind of touched on it right now, but your character, when you eventually fall, you're in this kind of this weird area where it's just kind of hexagonal, like a grid, like an isometric grid, but you're touching these memories of, I guess, your character in a way, as you kind of as we talk about kind of the story here. Just different lives that you've lived, and then you base your choices on what type of character do you want to play in there. And then then you get to the character creation. It's hey, we kind of pre-filled this stuff for you because of what you've chosen as from your memories. I was like, huh, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool way, a unique way of like getting your character created, I thought, anyway.
No, I'm right there with you. Like the character creation via these text prompts is a cool way to do it. Like it reminds me again of like the choose your own adventure, but it also kind of feels like, playing a tabletop RPG like Dungeons and Dragons, especially like a lot of like the starter box type sets where you kind of read through a solo adventure, and as you make choices, it's moving you towards your ultimate character creation. So it's like you're presented with a scenario, and are you going to sneak? Are you going to run right in? Are you going to hang back and try to assess?
Yeah.
And based on that, it kind of forks and says, okay, well, this is more of a warrior class. This is more of a rogue class. That's more of a mage class. And I like the way that it handles that.
Yeah.
It does capture the sitting with a dungeon master kind of thing.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. That was very cool. And this is one of those games that based on your choices, like, I mean, you based on the choices, you pick your character, but based on choices, you figure out how you deal with certain situations, and you have to, there's ramifications with the choices that you make. And like, I guess just to kind of circle back quickly to the story of this game, and then, you could try to fill this up as much as I can, but it's such a weird premise, right? It does kind of start off where it's like, you don't know who you are, this typical RPG of like that and all that stuff. But then like, it kind of pulls back a little bit because it's like, you don't know who you are because you're kind of a vessel for this god, but now you're kind of cast off from this god. And it's like, it's just weird. I was like, what is going on here? It's so strange. And I was like, okay. And like the characters that you meet, the dialogue that they talk about, it was like, all right, this is weird. And it's set, I think, in very, very, very far future. So
super far future. The planet has gone through a number of eras of humanity ascending to greatness and then falling apart. And then ascending to greatness and then falling apart. And as you said, I do really like, it's in my likes as well, the aspect that the idea that you are playing a cast off shell of an all powerful god.
Yeah.
And so as this god hops to a new body, the consequence is that the previous body kind of gets a new consciousness.
Yeah.
And that is who you play as.
Yeah. And
it's a neat idea.
Yeah. I was just blown away with the whole concept of this game, and or at least the story anyway. So yeah, I mean, it plays like the old school it was cool to be able to kind of go back to those kind of retro style RPGs, which, I mean, I guess Baldur's Gate 3 kind of did that as well, more recently, and successfully, I'd say too. And so it was kind of cool also, like that, just to kind of get that kind of feel for those kind of games. Because, funny enough, when you and I were in college and stuff like that, I know Phil was a huge fan of the Planescape Torment series. And like I think he played that game like 4 or 5 times, like during our time there, and just constantly play that game and any of the RPGs of the time, like Neverwinter Nights and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool to see that, go back to those roots, so to speak. So any other likes here you got here?
I appreciated it handled the tutorial, I thought, pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the mechanics are explained as necessary, which is always to be the sign of a good tutorial. And it gives you a couple of little nudges telling you things so you don't have to worry so much, like quest items will be protected. So like if you need an item to solve a quest or solve a puzzle or something like that, you won't be able to get rid of it. Okay. So I appreciate little things like that. And you can also, if you find the tutorial to be annoying, you have the option to turn it off whenever you want. So you're not stuck in this mode where it's constantly prompting you. But, because this world is so foreign and you may not have played a isometric turn-based RPG if you're not quite as old as Tom and Chris, you may want these extra tooltips left alone. So it's up to you if you want them or not, which I always appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right.
That said, what didn't we appreciate?
What didn't we appreciate? Well, I got to say, I know you talked about the starting up and the adventure as a text adventure, and it was narrated, which I thought was really, I was like, oh, awesome. There's like voice acting in this game.
Yeah.
And it was really well done. And then it stops.
Very abruptly.
It was like, wait, what? Like even when you get introduced to other characters, they have a voice line for like the very first like piece of dialogue, and then it stops again. And I'm like, what? But why? Why? Just give them a few more bucks to just complete the lines. I get it. I get there's a lot of dialogue in this game. There is 100%. I get that. But like, it kind of pulled me out of the game a little bit too. But I mean, the writing was just really well done. But like, so you can kind of like hear the voices in your head, so to speak, as you're reading through it. But it's still like, oh, they teased me. They teased me with that voice acting. And
I think like, that's therein lies the problem, Chris, is that it does kind of tease you because you're not just watching a cutscene, right? Like we're used to situations where you watch a cutscene, the cutscene has amazing visuals and great narration, and then you play the game and it has neither of those things. Like we wouldn't have been surprised by that. Yeah. But because it starts up as this kind of text-based game and it's narrated, it kind of leads you to this assumption that it's all going to be narrated, and then it isn't. And that is definitely disappointing, especially because there is a lot of text. You know, it is a lot of reading. I agree that it's well written, but get ready. You know, if you didn't want to read a novel, this isn't the game for you.
Yeah, but I will say I appreciated this game more than Citizen Sleeper. Because like both games, I think were very well written, but I felt like I was actually playing a game here.
Yes, that is fair. There are segments where you're exploring the world, moving a character around, you know, especially the combat sequences, right? But even just the world exploration, walk over here, loot the thing, walk over there, interact with that object. Yeah. Like, but I got to say, I didn't like the controls so much. I thought they felt kind of floaty, kind of awkward. Yeah. Like they just didn't, maybe it's the isometric thing, you know, that like strictly speaking, the left isn't left because there is kind of an angle to it.
Oh, okay.
You know, that might be the disconnect. I'm not 100% sure, but I wasn't a fan on the controller.
Interesting. So, but you are not controlling like a mouse.
No. You move the character around with the
so it was like half measures. It wasn't like okay.
It felt weird. It would have been worse to like do it as a mouse. I probably wouldn't like without a mouse, right? Like using your controller as a mouse sucks. Don't ever do it. If you're designing a game, I hate you if you do it.
Don't do it. You get Tom very mad.
You get me very mad. That's not what that's for. But this game doesn't do that, but still it feels wrong in some ways. Like, I don't know, I guess, you know, you play a lot of video games, you play a lot of platformers, and you can tell when something feels right. Yeah. It just there's like an intuitive, you know, Mario's jump is perfect, right? Handling Mega Man in the Super Nintendo days, like or even the original Nintendo days, like there's just a way that it handles that feels right. It doesn't feel like you're being cheated. It doesn't feel like it's off in some way. And to me, I don't know, this one just felt off. It felt like it should be controlled with the mouse and keyboard.
I was like, should I play this with the mouse and keyboard? But I was like, oh, but it's an isometric game. Let me play with mouse and keyboard, and it does feel good playing a mouse and keyboard. So
it doesn't surprise me at all. I would recommend anybody who's going to play this with a mouse and keyboard. Yeah.
I mean, and I get it. It's from 2017. The game does feel a little dated. But I wrote it's not pretty. Yeah, it's not a pretty game, but it serves its purpose. Like there were some cool things. There was cool moments, like when you met the two characters that you had to choose between. Like eventually, you have to choose between like who you want to go with. Like there's that one lady with like who essentially has like two other people with her, but like they're kind of like phasing in and out. I thought that was a cool effect that was on her and stuff like that. And also like just a really cool character as well. Like just that idea of who they are. But the other part of this game takes a while to really start up.
Oh boy, does it.
30 minutes. It took me almost 30 minutes to actually get to the character creator moment. I don't know how long it took you, but that's when it was, I was like, whoa, okay. I'm not even playing the game yet.
Yeah. I wrote takes a long time to start.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, tabletop RPGs take a long time to start. Like, you almost always, if you're playing a tabletop RPG, especially if it's going to be a longer term game, you have what we would call a session zero, right? Like the session before the game begins, where you work on making a character, and that is what you spend the bulk of your first hour doing here.
Right.
Is building the person that you will be for the rest of the game. So true.
And I mean, like I said, you make a lot of choices, and for me, it was just really daunting. Like the choices that you make, I feel like just have so much of an impact, which can be a good thing. But it's like right at the beginning where, when you're actually playing the game, these two characters, they're butting heads the entire time. And then eventually you have to, you come to this point where it's like, okay, who are you going with? Like, who do you want to side with here? Because like one character is like for this particular cult, and the other character is for the god that I guess you represent in a way, or had represented in some way. And then I was like, I'm not dealing with both of you. I'm leaving. I'm going to do my own thing. And they're like, okay, fine. And they both left. They're like, you can find me here. And I'm like, oh wow, that was it. Like, I don't have a party anymore.
That was bold of you, Chris. I thought, honestly, that if I picked that, it would just be like, no, but you have to pick one of us. But I didn't go that route. I picked the cult group.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking because the character class that I ended up picking was like more conversation character, so like, smooth talker of some sort. And I thought there might have been a way for me to like just be like, hey, let's smooth this out, let's just try and like work together, whatever. But I didn't have that choice, so that was unfortunate. But I was like, all right, forget it, I'll just do this on my own. And then they just left, so I was like, okay.
Shocking.
That was kind of, it was, yeah. I was like, dang, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna do this. And that's that. But all right. Well, any other dislikes here you got, Tom?
I think I'm ready to move forward.
Okay. Well, How Long to Beat says this game takes about 25 to 30 hours to complete. So sizable amount of time.
But also, being a RPG could be a lot longer. Like it kind of surprised me to hear 25 to 30 hours for what this looks like and feels like. I was like, oh boy, here we go. Hope you're ready for 100 hours, kind of thing.
And I'm sure you probably could squeeze out a lot more time if there's like a ton of side missions and stuff like that. This is probably the golden path kind of thing where, if you stay but I agree with you. This is probably double that if you really wanted to play this game the way that they expect you to play the game. So, well,
or you could be our buddy Phil and play it through once on one mode and then play it through again on the other way.
Yeah. Exactly. So it seems to be a variety of choices about how you want to play this game. So this game is a fairly old game. I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to check if this is xCloud capable, but I will try to report back as quickly as possible and see what that is. But Tom, what notes do you have?
Okay. Well, obviously this is a spiritual successor to Planescape Torment. We alluded to that quite a bit. That is why it is starts with Torment. They can't call it Planescape because Planescape is, the rights to that belong to Wizards of the Coast, and they weren't able to secure that license. But the designers from Planescape Torment basically reconvened to work on this game. So you have Chris Avallone, you have Colin McCallum, Monte Cook, Mark Morgan. So basically the who's who of who wrote the game, who designed the game, who scored the game, like all of these people came back together to make this. They based it on a system and a setting called Numera RPG Universe, which is a tabletop RPG, not unlike Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
Made by one of the people who worked, on the original Planescape. So he wrote Planescape back in the day. That stays with Wizards of the Coast as they acquired all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. So he went and made his own thing later on. And then they used that new setting for this spiritual successor. It was crowdfunded on Kickstarter. with a planned release of December 2014. But as we know, took a little bit longer than that to eventually come out. But at the time, and of course this predates Star Citizen, it was the highest funded game on Kickstarter. So when it was successfully funded and had made several $1 million, it was a quite a big deal back then.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, like, if I remember, or I did a little research as well, like I think about 4 million or something like that they acquired for this. So yeah,
and you remember this is in the early days of Kickstarter, right? So like that's pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive. It makes you wonder if they could have put a little bit more of that 4 million to the voice acting, but hey, what can you do there? But all right. Now, Tom, we do need to find out if we are keeping this game on our respective hard drives or casting it off like one of the shells of this god.
Oh, well done. So I wrote, while the intro was intriguing and I like the premise, I really do. The first hour for me didn't demonstrate enough of the gameplay to get me invested, right? Because I spent so much of that time kind of building my character and in the foggy unknown of not knowing who I am, and I'm making choices, but do the choices matter? Like, none of this stuff kind of resolves itself until you actually get to character creation.
Right.
For me, it was an example of far too much telling and not enough showing, which is a crime in game design for me. So I'm going to have to pass on this one.
Okay. Interesting. Because like for someone like you who does play tabletop RPGs, like I thought this would be something up your alley, but I guess not. And but I totally get it. Like, especially around this premise of only playing the hour to get your juices flowing for the next rest of the hours there. But for me, I was just like, I think I learned and forgot a lot of new words during this time playing, because it was just literally play this game for the first hour and you're just like, wow, like the prose that is like right in this game. But this is definitely a game you need to dedicate some time to play through and even just read. Like, it's, if you want to read a book, like this is one of those things, and a well-written book is probably one of those things. And if you have that time, do it. And I think I am going to take that time to play this because as our mutual friend Phil was such a big fan of the Planescape Torment games, I never really got into that game, but this game like really got me interested in this kind of spiritual successor universe. So I think I'm gonna keep playing this game and seeing if it's worth it or not. So
it's not very large, so like there's no harm in letting it sit on the hard drive and see how it goes. Still on mine. I haven't removed it yet, but we'll see what happens, right? I mean. My knee-jerk reaction is, but to be fair, I did think it was going to be a whole lot more hours than, I wasn't thinking I could golden path this in 20 some odd hours. I was like, I don't know if I could do another 49 hours of this, was what I was thinking,
Right. Yeah, I get it. Like, as we get up in age, the time is precious, man. Time is precious. So I totally get why maybe this isn't up Tom's alley. And that's okay. But those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us and say hello on Blue Sky at 1H1D, on Twitter and threads at TC1H1D. Shoot us an email at TC1H1D@outlook.com. Check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1H1D. And hey, you might be watching this on YouTube. You might be watching the gameplay of this game on YouTube. Maybe we eventually got to the actual gameplay part. Send us a comment down below. Maybe you enjoy some of the other inXile games. We did play Wasteland 2, and they're doing they're cooking some new stuff as well. I appreciate that studio though. They just seem to know how to write. So, but let us know what your favorite inXile game is. I'd like to know. 1H1D is part of the QTB network, and if you like any great gaming content, check it all out at quitthebuild.com/network.
All right.
210 episodes done. But we're not done yet. So we need to find out. We're going to hit that surprise button and figure out what that next game is, Tom. Here we go. Okay. Wild Hearts.
What is that?
I don't know, but it's got a scary wolf on it, and maybe we got to do something with a scary wolf. And
maybe it'll be more actiony than this.
Maybe
sounds like it's not baseball. Sounds like it might be more actiony. I don't know. I'm looking for the right, a different word, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Less isometric, less turn based, more
smashy.
Yeah, more running gunny, stabby. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe we'll find out on our next episode. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this episode, and we will catch you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.